Greetings all, Ferrari-Man601 here. Well, have a look at what has come to visit us today. Is it a supercar? No. Is it a hypercar? No. Is it a race car? No. What this is the absolutely magnificent Ford Transit. Yeah, it's a utility van, and it's here in Assetto Corsa, and I'm reviewing it. My oh my, what have we here? Have I completely lost my mind? Is this the last you'll ever hear of me before I get carted off to some asylum? No, dear viewers, I assure you it is not. I am in my right mind, and this is a Ford Transit van. Why do we have this Ford Transit van? Well, courtesy of Gary Patterson, who is actually of RSS fame, we have this absolutely wonderful 2000-ish spec Ford Transit van. Speaking of the specs, here is what we've got on this beast. It is, of course, the Ford Transit. It weighs an absolutely astonishing 2,070 kilograms. And that's assuming we have 72 liters of fuel on board, so a little bit of weight savings is possible. Powerplant in this thing, it's a 2-liter 4-cylinder Ford Duratorque diesel. Yes. We have a dizzy 135 horsepower underneath that front bonnet. 375 newton meters of torque was actually somewhat respectable. Top speed is a theoretical, mind-blowing 175 kilometers per hour. A 0 to 100 kilometer per hour acceleration time is just under 16 seconds. And the power to weight ratio is 15.33 kilograms per horsepower. Yes, so we're not exactly talking about a speed demon here, but we are talking about something which is rather unique in the world of Assetto Corsa, and also rather unique in the world of car guy stuff. Those of you who remember the old Top Gear series, the real Top Gear series, the one with Clarkson, Hammond, and May, they took one of these cars, vans, things, whatever you want to call it. They took one of these things to the Nürburgring Nordschleife in one episode in 2005 or thereabout, where they attempted to get this thing around the ring in under 10 minutes. They were helped out significantly by the Nürburgring's resident specialist, Sabine Schmitz, where, guess what, she did it in just over 10 seconds. So, sub 10 minute times here at the Nürburgring. Yes, 10 minute, not 10 seconds. 10 seconds around the Nürburgring. I don't think that would be possible by any manned vehicle of any sort. Anyway, she did it in just over 10 minutes, so they failed their mission, but they did get awfully close. So, it is possible for a transit van to do some rather heroic things, I must say. Anyway, why does this thing exist? Well, it exists for a bit of fun, as far as I can divine. Yes, of course, that does open up the possibility for us to try and take this thing around the Nordschleife in less than 10 minutes. However, that's not exactly what I want to be doing with it. I just want to be having some good old-fashioned, unadulterated Assetto Corsa sim racing fun with this thing, whatever you want to characterize it as. And first of all, we do have to take a look at what it is that we've actually got here. Now, Gary is also a member of RaceSim Studio, so they very recently just finished delivering their GT pack to us. Gary worked on the Ferruccio 57 in that pack, so that's an absolutely brilliant car, and well, same brain trust is behind this. So this is not some sort of mom and pop backwood shop mod. This is something that's actually very well thought out, very highly detailed, as you can see there by the "Clean Me" written in the dust there on the rear door. Yeah, that's absolutely excellent, unbelievably humorous. We have some bumper stickers on the back. The GB sticker, of course, Britannia, rule the waves. And then we've got limited to 70 miles per hour. Well, we're going to try to be exceeding 70 miles per hour in this thing, but no promises. I have yet to drive this thing, so I really don't know what it can actually do. But taking a look at the exterior model, first of all, you notice how huge it is. It barely fits in our field of view here in showroom, but it's really put together quite nicely. You can get in close here on a lot of the details, and you don't get that much pixelation. Everything looks the way it should. We can open up the doors if we want. Front doors open up. You can see a very nicely appointed cockpit. Is that what you want to call it? I'll call it a cockpit, okay. Very nicely appointed in there. Nice steering wheel, nice gear lever there. I mean, it almost looks like you could pop in and have a go. Not too bad. Looking around the front end here, big mirrors there so you can see well behind you, which is quite important because a lot of people are going to be trying to pass you. Front valance detail, nice headlights which actually work, of course. Same for the brake lights and tail lights at the back. Nice grille detail, that front fascia. You can see the grille work there for feeding the radiator. There's the TDCI emblem showing us that we do indeed have a diesel engine powering this thing. Nice Ford emblem there. Again, very nicely detailed. And all in all, we've got ourselves quite a nice package here, despite the subject matter. Have a look at the tire sidewall, big Michelin tires on this. 215 75R 16C compound there. Very nice. Nice forged steel press fit rims in there. No hubcaps, don't bother. But yeah, I like it. I really do like this thing. The rear doors don't open, unfortunately, but we do have a couple other Easter eggs here. If we take a closer look, you can see that we have an optional light bar that we can fit into this thing if we so desire. So we've got a police light bar if we want. And also, if you look closely on the dashboard here, hit number 1 on the numpad, and you see that we have a little clock, timer, stopwatch come up there on the dashboard. That's going to be very important for hot lapping in this thing. So you can run around as the Queen's Rozzers if you want, and you can do so with a stopwatch. Very cool. Very, very cool. I like that a lot. We'll go around to the driver's side. Remember, this is a UK model, so it is right-hand drive. We'll fly into the cockpit and take a look at what we've got going on in here. Well, not bad. Not too bad. We're a little bit limited in terms of what we can look at in here because I don't have zoom functions here, but nice instrument panel. Looks like we've got water temperature on the left, a tachometer in the middle, speedometer on the right, and then extreme right. That looks to be fuel level. Yeah, not bad. You can see all the buttons there for your different climate control and light settings. There's your radio, your master clock up there. And then if we want to turn it on, there's a stopwatch that'll come in there on top of the dashboard. I like it. I really do like this thing. It is very nicely detailed. It actually reminds me quite a lot of an old Ford Windstar that we've got. And yeah, the view out the front is not all that different. Obviously, 2 Ford products there. Windstar, for those of you who don't know, it's an old minivan that Ford made in the mid-2000s, similar to the era of this vehicle. So yeah, family resemblance, of course. Looking down there in the footwell, there are your 3 pedals, and you can even see the linkage for the steering column. I like that a lot. I wonder if that's animated as you're turning the wheel. Probably not, but who knows? I could be surprised. And that's about it in here. It's pretty stripped out. We don't have power windows, or maybe we do. Not quite sure. We've got buttons for power windows here on the driver's door, but if you look on the passenger door, we have a window crank. I don't know if that is actually what these things were like, because if there are 2 buttons there, and I would assume those are for raising and lowering the windows on the driver and passenger sides. Yet the passenger door has a crank. I don't know why that is. Maybe I'll have to investigate that later on, or one of you in the comments can tell me if that's real or not. But yeah, we might have power windows, but that's where it all stops. Headlight control there on the right-hand side of the dash. Big hazard switch. Climate control settings for your different vent configurations. Hot and cold, and fan speed, defrost. And that's about it. Not too bad. I have to say, I really do like the level of detail in this. Yes, it's a van, but, well, it's a very nicely put together van from what I can divine just from showroom view. However, this being Ferrari Man, you know that we just can't stop here. We've got to go drive this thing, and again, me being Ferrari Man, what does that mean? It means that we have to go to the Holy of Holies. We have to go to Imola and drive this thing, which we shall do presently. Stand by! Welcome to the morning light here at Imola. Yes, it is time to put the transit van through its paces, but before we get on with all of that, let's go to the setup screen and show you what's going on with this absolutely brilliant piece of early 2000s Ford engineering. Well, setup screen, here's your gearbox. We have got a 6-speed gearbox in this thing. We can adjust the final drive ratio if we want, so we can go for a shorter stack or a longer stack, basically. Max speed here in 6th gear, theoretically, 222 kilometers an hour at the 13 to 49 final drive. At the 15 to 64 final drive, top speed goes down to 196. We'll probably never reach either one. We're going to stick with the default longer ratios here. Tires, we have one compound, van. It's a van compound, and of course it's a street compound. Default tire pressure shown here, 44 psi on the front and 60 psi on the rear. We can adjust the tire pressures all the way down to 15 psi if we want, and all the way up to 60 in the front, or all the way up to 70 in the rear if we so desire. Little quirky thing that happens with the physics. If you do drop the tire pressures all the way down to 15 psi, have a look at what happens. Yeah, the wheels and tires sort of collapse into the terrain mesh. So this just tells me this isn't going to work. So don't run it at 15 psi. It's just not going to happen. And you can even see the whole vehicle is just sort of vibrating and gyrating around wildly. So just don't do that. We're going to run the default pressures. And you can see asymmetric pressures here. It starts to rotate about some center of gravity that I can't quite divine. So yeah, just don't mess with the tire pressures, I don't think. Go back to default setup there. Fuel, default at 72 liters. This is where all of our performance data was taken from. Zero it out to keep it quiet, but you can put it all the way up to 80 liters. That's maximum capacity of fuel. Electronics, we do have traction control and we do have anti-lock brakes. You can turn the traction control and the ABS off if you so desire. We're going to run with the ABS and we'll play with the traction control on the fly. We'll keep it on for now. Alignment, camber and toe on the front end only. And generic, there's your light bar and there's your stopwatch on the dashboard. That's it. Obviously, pit stop strategy, that's generic to all cars in Assetto Corsa. We can play with that if we want to. If for some unknown reason you'd ever want to race this thing, that means I'm going to race this thing at some point. Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous, but that's it. I like it. Anyway, default setup. In the cockpit here of our transit van, which is now sitting slightly askew thanks to the antics with the tire pressures before, you can see the view that we've got. Nice steering wheel detail. I have to say the steering, just sitting here standing still, it feels rather light. There is good feedback here, but steering feels light. Obviously power steering galore in this thing. And a lot of torque from that diesel engine. Yeah. And of course, being a diesel, it is turbocharged. That's not really going to be helping our performance, though, I do suspect. Anyway, I have never turned a wheel in this thing, so I don't really know what to expect other than it's going to be slow and probably tedious. But let's figure it out. One other thing that I've got to do, we have to get that light bar back in there. Default setup does not select the stopwatch, rather, not the light bar. Anyway, there's the stopwatch, so now we've got a lap time. We have got our pedal trace in the lower left, in addition to our gear display, so you can see what we're doing with the gearbox. Anyway, clutch in. First gear selected. I probably don't need any throttle to move off, but we'll find out. Yeah, we need some throttle to move off. Lots of torque, but not that much torque. And there we go. It's a van. It's a van. We're nowhere near the pit lane speed limit of 80 kilometers an hour. Oh yeah, that's full acceleration. All right, coming out onto the racetrack here. Wow, it is really, really slow. It is really slow into the Tamburello chicane. I'm not at redline, but it runs out of revs at about 3,600 or so. Remember, it is a diesel. They're not exactly built to rev. They're built to pull really hard in the low range. And that's exactly what it's doing. Into the Villeneuve chicane. I don't really know what I've got underneath me. Again, I've never driven this thing before, so what have we got? Alright, well, we've got a lot of torque. That I can tell you. Torturing the tires already into Tosa. Coming up the hill. Let's short shift it. Let's get the torque. Okay, okay. This is manageable, certainly. Coming into Piratella. Yep. There's the understeer already. Down the hill. 120 kilometers an hour. This is madness. Into Acqua Minerale for the first time. Okay, yep, we've already missed the corner. Alrighty then. Understeer, we have it. In abundance. Come on, go, 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 go. Third gear for Variante Alta. First apex, second apex. Alright, the run down to the Rivazza complex. Do we dare pull sixth? Yes, we do. Rivazza 1, tires starting to scream enough. Rivazza 2. And now, coming down start-finish for the first time to begin our first flying lap. There's fifth gear. Turn off the traction control. Not that we need it anyway. 120 kilometers an hour. Sixth gear. Let's begin the lap. What can we do at racing speed? Massive air quotes there in the Ford Transit. It's 150 meters before Tamburello. Throwing it at the apices as quickly as we dare. Out of Tamburello. Look at that. Right on the racing line. Brilliant. Into Villeneuve. Do we brake? Yeah, we're going to brake. A little bit. Just a little dab there. Get the front end settled down. Understeer. All right, coming into Tosa. On the brakes into Tosa at 54 seconds. 1 minute into the lap, exiting Tosa. I will say, it's a little bit tricky to get your sight lines calibrated into this thing because you're sitting so high. You get absolutely excellent visibility, but it's visibility that's so good that it's a little unsettling because obviously you're not used to sitting up so high in most vehicles in Assetto Corsa, so it's a very different vantage point than what I'm used to. Acqua Minerale, first one. All right, we hit the apex that time. Coming up on 2 minutes. Brakes. Third gear. Throw it in. Throw it in again. On the power. Two minutes, 10 seconds in the rundown to the Rivazza corners.
220, heading under the bridge, grab 6th. On the brakes. Skip a couple of gears on the way down. First apex, understeer like crazy. Second Rivazza. There we go. And now start finish. Can we make it under 3 minutes? I don't know. Probably. Just runs out of steam at around 3,500 revs. 2 minutes, 57.57. How about that? Lap record for the Ford Transit at Imola, most probably. So we've got an idea of how fast it is, or how not fast it is, but what's this actually feel like? Well, I mentioned the field of view that you've got, namely how high up you are. That is an adjustment to make. It's obviously not a difficult adjustment to make, as I seem already to have done it, but it's just different. Again, I'm used to flying around this place in a Formula 1 car, and here we are in something most decidedly different. So it just takes a little bit of recalibration of your brain just to make sure that you know exactly where you are with any degree of precision. But it's not that difficult. What's this feel like to drive? Well, we mentioned the steering just sitting there in the pit lane. The steering is very light. Obviously, this is indicative of the power steering system that's in this thing. This is a very heavy vehicle, and just driving it on the road, you'd be doing a lot of long distances in something like this. You don't want heavy steering, so the steering is quite light. However, it is still quite communicative for what it is. I am feeling the bumps in the road. I'm feeling the curbs when I'm going over the curbs there. Totally felt that apex curb. Totally feeling this exit curb right now. It's good. Force feedback is very good. Brakes, well, the anti-lock brakes, they're going to help you. We'll leave it at that. The ABS is your friend in this. It's a very heavy vehicle. You will lock up the brakes without too much of a thought if you turn the ABS off, so just leave that on. You'll be fine. The gearbox, well, the ratios are pretty long. The gap between gears is pretty substantial. You're not going to get any tremendous acceleration out of this thing. You do have to watch the downshifts. Mechanical over rev would be pretty easy to do. Chassis dynamics, well, what dynamics, I have to say. That's not a criticism of the mod, it's just a criticism of the fact that this is a van. It does not give you any great chassis feel. The rear axle just basically feels like it's trailing behind you, which it basically is. Yes, it's rear-wheel drive, but yeah, you can't balance this thing on the rear axle by any means. All your weight's up front for the most part. Of course, you can balance that out a little bit with fuel load as we're on full tanks right now, but yeah, it's not a speed demon. Then again, it was never advertised as such. It's a utility vehicle, and well, it feels very utilitarian. The sounds in here? Well, it sounds like a diesel engine from the early 2000s, so hats off to you. Did a good job there, Gary. 257.51, another personal best by 6/100ths of a second. I think we've already found the limit of the pace here if I'm already consistent to within 6/100ths. All right, I see how this is going to work. But in terms of the lighting in here, the ambient lighting, you can see the shadows coming across the dash. Feels good. And it looks good. Looks quite convincing. Understeer, there we go. You can see there, traction control turned off. You can get really hard on the throttle straight away in the middle of a corner. It's not going to complain. I don't think it's possible to do a burnout in this. Just, it's not. Try 5th gear here through Piratella. Yep, doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make the slightest bit of difference. Noticing a discrepancy on the dashboard in terms of the speed displayed on the little widget there in the lower left of the screen versus the digit shown on the dial there. The white numbers there are pretty sure, unless that is in miles per hour instead of kilometers per hour. Pretty sure there's a mismatch, but actually, let's take a closer look at that. Yep, that's in miles per hour. The white numbers there in the outer ring, that's in miles per hour. So the speed is actually bang on. 50 miles an hour, 80 kilometers an hour. Yep, that's it. No problems there, no errors. But you can see we've got a clock on a dashboard. 16 past the hour. That's all legible. Clock also reiterated on the dashboard right above the radio. Very nice. Just come down, start, finish. Let's turn on the lights. Yep, there you go. Backlighting all across the dashboard. I like that. That's some nice detail. That really is. Gary, you went to town on this thing. Why? There's 90 miles an hour, 137 kilometers an hour. We're not going to hit 100 miles an hour in this thing. Not with this horsepower, not with this drag. It's a brick on wheels. But you know what? I don't really care about all of that. It's the novelty of being able to drive a transit van in Assetto Corsa and throw it around the racetrack of your choosing. It's really pretty cool. It really is pretty cool. I don't understand why I'm liking this thing so much. It just really must be the novelty factor, because it's so slow. It's so underwhelming in so many ways, but at the same time, it feels so convincing. I dare say this might be, as ridiculous as this is going to sound, this might be one of the most realistic mods in Assetto Corsa history. I mean, look at the way it just completely fell off the road there. That is what I would expect a vehicle like this to do. The way it just doesn't go. I mean, hard down on the throttle here. It just doesn't go. And it's exactly what you'd expect to see. It's rather weird, but at the same time, I get it. This is exactly what I would expect from a vehicle like this. It may well be one of the most realistic Assetto Corsa mods ever made. Rear axle giving up. Doesn't matter, because we're going slow enough to keep it on the road. Really, I can't find anything about the mod to criticize. The only criticisms I have are levied against the fact that this is a van, and that it's so slow. But that's exactly what it's supposed to be. As strange as it sounds, this is fantastic. Really, it is. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. I really I don't know what else to say about it. It's excellent. It is absolutely excellent. And we even got the tail out there. It is absolutely 100% excellent. As slow as it is, as weird as it is, it does everything you would expect it to do. You're not going to be breaking any lap records in it. But at the same time, you're not going to care that much, because it's a Ford Transit van. And we're throwing it around Imola for all it's worth. And it's doing what you would expect it to do. The amount of bounce that you get coming over those apex curbs, it's alarming, absolutely alarming, but it's stable. It doesn't feel like it's going to tip over. It doesn't behave erratically. It just understeers like you wouldn't believe, and if you do break traction on the rear, it'll oversteer like you wouldn't believe, but the speeds are so low that it's not really a big deal either way. Like here, that's oversteer, but we're going so slow that there's no drama to it. Yep, we're on the hot lap line here, coming down start finish. .257.92. We're in a few tenths of our best lap. I mean, you know, that's just what this thing does. How is our low speed maneuverability? Turning radius? Well, it's actually not bad at all. Not bad in the least. I do have to say, though, when you're going the wrong way indicator is right there in your line of sight. So it's a little bit difficult to see where you're going, but hopefully we're not going the wrong way too often. It's just absolutely fantastic. It's a Ford Transit van in Assetto Corsa, doing Ford Transit van-like things. It's great. It's absolutely great. I don't know why it's so great, but it is. There's going to be a lot of torque here, even in reverse. Yeah, but we get it stopped. It's a Ford Transit van. What can I say? And it does everything you would expect it to do. It's absolutely fantastic in every way. And it's fantastic in all the ways that it's not fantastic. It's so slow. It's definitely the slowest car in Assetto Corsa. I think the Fiat 595 has this thing beaten even. That's the level of slowness that we're talking about. But you don't care because look at how good it is. Look at how good that detail is. The way it drives is fantastic in as much as it's a van. And it behaves just like you'd expect a van to behave. It's great. It's absolutely great. I don't know what the applications are for something like this. It's not like we're going to be transporting things in Assetto Corsa, but it's fantastic for what it is. It's absolutely fantastic. It does everything you'd want it to do. It's a van. And I like it. I really like it. Again, can I explain why? No, but there it is. It's the Ford Transit, and it's spectacular. Of course, do stay tuned for hot laps here from Imola in the Ford Transit. We'll take a look at what it can do on low fuel, but I don't think I'm going to be playing with those tire pressures at all. So we'll just take some more weight out of the back end there with the fuel tank, and we'll see if we can improve on our 257 at all. Maybe half a second, maybe a second, but I don't think there's that much more in it because, well, it's just what it does. But yeah, the Ford Transit, it's going to be really good, and it's coming to a sim racing download website near you. I'm making this review before the release of the mod publicly, so I'm not entirely sure if it's going to be up on Race Department, but as soon as I get a download link for it, I will be adding that to the description, and then you too can bask in the glory that is the early 2000s-ish Ford Transit van as seen on Top Gear. So it's great. It's absolutely great. I think everybody's going to have fun with this. No, it's not going to be an earth-shattering mod, unlike what RSS, Race Sim Studio, have given to us in the past, but Gary, you've done a great job with this thing for what it is, and you know what? Your efforts, they're going to be very highly appreciated indeed, so hats off to you. Thanks for the early access that you gave me and a couple other sim racing YouTubers, but at the same time, the general public as well. They're going to enjoy this for what it is. I don't know if it's going to be particularly popular in online lobbies, but there it is. It's the Ford Transit, and it's great, and we've got hot laps coming, so do stay tuned for those. Ferrari Man 601 saying thank you very much for watching, and of course, we will see you soon.